Right, folks, in this video, I'm going to show you how to decode a historical event. And the historical event that we're going to look at is the moon landing, the first moon landing, in order to get clues on what really happened at this event. Because astrology is a great tool for this because it allows you to see the constellating forces at play in any event. And those are not always the same as the ones that you see apparently transpiring, and becoming apparent for everybody to see. You can kind of see behind the scenes what's happening, which forces are shaping this thing, which then becomes known as this big event. You can do that with astrology. Now, I should say to this, if somebody comes to this from the astronomy, kind of mainstream astronomy field, and he sees this right now, they're going to laugh because for them, they already think that all the theories around the moon landing not being real, that they're all kind of crazy and humbug and shouldn't be taken seriously. And astrology for them is basically the gold standard of superstition. It's what they see as a kind of attestation of not being scientific, and now somebody wants to bring these two things together, but that shouldn't bother us much. Those guys, the kind of mainstream astronomy, anti-astrology kind of proponents, people like the Bill Nyes and the Neil deGrasse Tysons and of the world, they don't really know what they're talking about. And I'm going to do other videos in future where I will systematically show that their attacks on astrology are complete strawman attacks. They're attacking something that is nothing to do with what we're doing. Basically, they haven't studied anything about astrology. They think that they can talk about it because they have some basic knowledge of seeing a newspaper horoscope somewhere. It's really ridiculous. Like, to be that preposterous and try to talk about an ancient art and craft which has thousands of years of theory and philosophy behind it and not know the faintest thing about it, and try to come and debunk it with some very basic kind of ideas that they have. But again, this is for future videos. I'm gonna do some stuff on this for sure. In this video, I want to show you how we can look at historical events through the lens of astrology and how we can see what's happening there. So the chart for the moon landing is a pretty nice chart. It's very nice to look at, and you have the chart here for 20 July 1969, and this is set for Houston, Texas. Obviously, we don't have a real location. The location would not be on Earth, but we're gonna set Houston, Texas because that's where it happened. Archetypically, symbolically, it's important. All of these things are really important symbolically. Where something happens, who's there when it happens. Once you understand this, once you understand how astrological charts come into being, then you also understand how energy comes into being in a specific place with specific people. And then you start to pay attention to moments, because you notice that every moment that you're participating in could be a chart for itself. Basically, it's a constellation of energy that you're in right now with other people, right? And that really opens, with time and with practice, it opens a completely different, expanded perspective on what you're doing on a day-to-day basis as well. But anyways, that being said, this chart is set for Houston, obviously, because that's where the NASA people were running the operation from. And very fittingly, for a chart like this, you are going to see that we have a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, you see here, right? Because Jupiter-Uranus obviously is the big cycle of innovation, right? It's the big social cycle of innovation, right? Computers, for instance, if you look at the entire development of microconductors and processors and computers and personal computers, Apple, the whole history of Apple, Steve Jobs, his personal life rhythms, it's all Jupiter-Uranus. It's all conjunctions, oppositions, Jupiter-Uranus, right? And trines of Jupiter-Uranus. Always, whenever you have the Jupiter-Uranus coming together, you have big shifts in technology, right? Technology, innovation. Lots of big innovators are born with Jupiter-Uranus conjunctions, right? They start a new cycle of innovation. And you have here, typically, obviously, very, very typically, you have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, right? So the start of a new cycle of innovation, opening completely new opportunities for innovation. That's what you want to see. And what else is here? There is, on this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, you have UNESCO. UNESCO means the heritage of humanity. That's what it stands for, the heritage of humanity, right? You got Icarus. Icarus is a figure who, in Greek mythology flew. He used this contraption to fly. And he fell into the sea because he flew too close to the sun, right? So there's a lesson and a message of ingenuity, but also of failure there, right? Or of not being able to achieve that ingenuity, right? And then you've got Neverland here. Neverland, right? The imaginary land, the land where you can never go to, right? So this technological innovation that we were talking about, it's going to somehow enrich or impact the heritage of humanity, right? What humanity sees as its accomplishments. Obviously, the moon landing did that. The whole of humanity was watching. And the whole of humanity was basically going through a consciousness shift of some times, you could say. And there's Neverland and Icarus. Okay, these could mean basically going somewhere that nobody has ever gone to, flying there, right? But also it's kind of a bit dodgy, right? Icarus fell off the skies, he didn't really get there. And Neverland is kind of more of a utopia or an imaginary place, right? Kind of a little bit dodgy. Eureka is here too. Eureka, like the scientific achievement, right? Eureka stands for I think it was Archimedes who famously said Eureka after he found this scientific insight, right? About the water and so on, like the submersion in water. But Eureka stands for scientific achievement. Okay, is there too? Okay, that's good, that's fitting. So far we can't really tell. Just by this could be fitting. This could be fitting for a, successful moon landing so far, what we have here. But people keep saying that the story doesn't check out, right? At the very least, people keep saying that there is a lot of footage that was produced or prepared. And it's possible that, there was an attempt to land on the moon, but simultaneously there was also footage being prepared in Hollywood, right? Or whatever, in studios, right? Why? Because you didn't want to have the kind of embarrassment of failure. If it doesn't work, at least you have some footage, or if there's some technical glitches or whatever, at least you have some footage, because this was in the Cold War. This was about domination of the planet between the Soviets and the US. There was a lot at stake. So at the very least, people say that, okay, a lot was doctored in the footage. The footage is a lot that doesn't check out. With apparently the president had a phone call from a landline with people up there, on the moon, which that's a technology that is very hard to replicate. Even today, we can't really have a phone call, with people on the moon, with people somewhere on a space station far away and so on. It's not a technology that's readily available. You can watch, NASA is trying to explain this. Certain other things that happened there where NASA apparently says that they lost the technology. They had all the technology, then they lost it. It's gone. We can't replicate it. So there's a lot of things that don't check out. But does it mean that there was, systematically lies told? If that was the case, then you would want to see some indications in the chart. You would want to see some indications in the chart, right? So what are those indications? First of all, when it's anything about lies, you want to see Neptune involved, right? You want to see Neptune involved. So Neptune is, in the best case, it's about higher spiritual sixth sense and downloads of higher information, right, from higher planes of consciousness. But in the low sense, in the mundane sense, everyday sense, Neptune is about lies, deception and lies, right? Deception and lies. So Neptune, you want to see always involved when it's anything with lies, anything to do with lies. And Neptune is here in a trine, okay, to Sun and Mercury. Sun and Mercury are exactly together, right? They're in the later stages of Cancer. I actually didn't put the star on here, but you have a star here, which is very important, fixed star. It's called Procyon. Procyon is here on the 25th degree of Cancer, and this is conjunct the Sun. Procyon stands for a big message. Procyon stands for a big message, right? The messenger. the big message, the cosmic message, the message that has a vast impact. So the sun with Mercury are on Procreon, and it's in Cancer. Cancer is the message, the big message that is for the people, right? That is for the nation mainly. Cancer is the nation, but it's also for the people, you could say, right? So this message is in a trine, you see here, it is in a trine with our Neptune that we already discussed here, right? So if you wanted to, let's say somebody, now this is not a good use of astrology, but you could theoretically, if somebody came to you, if you're an astrologer who knows his stuff, and somebody came to you and said, they want to do a crime, they want something not to be seen, they want to be deceptive, or they want to break into somebody's house or whatever, right? And they want to do something that is immoral, right? And unethical. Could the astrologer help them? Yeah, the astrologer could help them. Astrologer could find basically the time, the signature, constellation when they're most likely, almost certain to get away with that, right? Should astrologers do this? Obviously not, right? This is bad karma. This is bad karma for the astrologer. This is just as participating in the crime, basically, right? The astrologer shouldn't do that. But some astrologers do, which is why astrology has a bad name, has a bad rap. A lot of the religions don't like astrology, right? Because they know that astrologers can kind of outsmart the rest of the world in some ways if they have bad intentions, right? So you can see in the chart when certain immoral things are more likely to succeed as well, right? And if somebody wanted to search for a time to lie, right, and especially a time to do a big lie, that impacts a lot of people, that impacts a nation, an entire nation. Nation is Cancer, right? And a big message is Procreon, Sun, Mercury on Procreon. Then you would tell them that they should do that exactly when there is a trine to Neptune, right? The trine to Neptune means that if you have a square or opposition or any hard aspect to Neptune, that's a lie that's gonna, it's not gonna fly, right? It's gonna be an unsuccessful lie. But if you have a sun trine to Neptune, you have much higher chances of having a successful lie. Okay, and then what else? We've got two asteroids here. And this is where we really add meat to the bones. This is where we add nuance to the story. This is where we thicken the plot. We've got Loki and we got Don Quixote here. Okay, these are two asteroids. The asteroids, they show you, the nuance of the energy that you're talking about. So Loki, who's Loki? Loki is a Norse god who was known for his mendacity, his deception, his wit. He was basically the master of deceiving and lying, right? And in addition to Loki, we have here Don Quixote. Who's Don Quixote? Is a story about a knight in the Middle Ages, very famous, knight in the Middle Ages who was living in fantasies, right? He was basically fighting against windmills and he was imagining them to be giants, right? And lots of things like that. He was basically living in a world of fantasy. So you have two markers here, the Lord of Lies, and the beautiful fantasy. Don Quixote is the beautiful fantasy, right? The beautiful fantasy that that elevates your soul because it's so beautiful. And the Lord of Lies are both here with the sun that stands on the big cosmic message, Procreon, and that's in a trine to Neptune. And then with Neptune, you have America. You see here? America is with Neptune. So the deception that is done to America. And all of this together is in a perfect talent triangle here with that Jupiter-Uranus that I discussed first, right? Which we had already here, Icarus and Neverland, right? Which are already kind of dodgy, right? But they're getting backed by this super powerful, basically the massive lie constellation, which we have here, right? Or you could say the successful storyteller. If you want to do it positively, give a positive spin. You could say the successful, fantastic storyteller, right? This is a constellation for the successful, fantastic storyteller who makes a story that, is super successful, and gives people fantasy, right? And it elevates them in their imaginations. That's also consistent with the chart. Now, what does it mean for the moon landing? Was it fake? Was it not? Was there certain elements of it that were maybe produced or were not real? Was all of it fake? Was part of it fake? I'll leave that up to you. You can dig deeper into that if you like. I gave you astrology and I showed you how to uncode, how to decode the background of historical events. And we can do this for other events as well. If you want to see other events in history, let me know in the comments. I want to know which events you want to see. Also, subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell if you haven't done so yet, so that you see future videos. Like this video, tuck, 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 tuck. And if you want to work with me, you can find my links below in the description. We can work on everything from unlocking and decoding your personal destiny to finding the best zones on the planet where you can maximize your potential, to so much more. You can find all of that on the links that you find below. And until the next time, I wish you all the best. Be well, be blessed.